Recording in progress. All right, cool. So again, I was saying that, the intention is that of the call is to just talk through the possibilities of keeping the boys together. And like I was saying, I haven't really thought through the world of what this could look like. And I promised a number of you that I was going to have this call, but I hadn't, I was just thinking. I said, well, let me just jump out there, throw some ideas around. I have some opinions, I have some leanings, but I wanted to give you all as much as I could for what I come up with. And then hopefully at some point or another, we can come to some consistency and figure out how to move forward. So we have a little bit of time before any final decisions need to be made. So I'm just kind of throwing this all out there at you, and hopefully you can just kind of take it, give me your feedback, let's talk some things through, and then figure out some next steps for how to continue. Okay, cool. I'm imagining you all's heads nodding from behind the black screen. So we're gonna.
I'm here for you, Omari.
I see you, Betsy. I see you.
Thank
you. All right, you too, Yolanda. So with that said,
Okay.
let me just share with you all screen. I was trying to figure out the best way to organize my thoughts around this. So I said, let me just put something like this together and see what happens. Okay, so here are the teams that I've had familiarity with that I think that I would feel comfortable recommending as a possible place to land. Some of these I have more familiarity with than others. And I'm just going to go through them in turn with what I know and invite any one of you to contribute whatever you will. So just feel free. There's no formalities here. Feel free to take yourself off mute, interrupt as you will. If it gets too cumbersome, I'll ask that you raise your hand or something like that. But let's just talk through this openly and see what comes up. So with that said, here's the list that Omari and I and his mother have had familiarity with over the years. So All In was the team that he played with last year. I don't know how many of you all are familiar with All In, but it's probably the most well-run AAU team that we've ever been a part of, and we've been a part of a few of them. It's the most organized that you ever want to see. The schedule is all laid out, and there's very little of any deviation from that. The coaching is amazing, and it actually comes with an NCSA membership. I don't know if you're all familiar with NCSA, but it's absolutely brilliant. It's like a basketball resume for the boys. So it allows them to upload their highlight videos, their GPA, all their coaches' contact information. But most importantly, it actually contains a database of every college coach in the country. And you can email them directly when you're eligible to do so. And there's rules around that we can discuss. But it allows you to access and create these watch lists, if you will, of colleges and follow them and reach out to college coaches and have them look at you. So it's like a social media outlet for youth athletes, for student athletes. Absolutely phenomenal. So it actually comes with that with All In. And it's great. I mean, I can't say enough good stuff about All In. The downside to All In is that it's pricey. It's about $2,000 for the whole thing. It comes with, you have a tournament almost every weekend, at least 3 weekends out of the month. Practices are twice a week. You get your jersey and your bag and your socks and all the equipment that you could ever want.
Where are the practices, Omari?
What's that?
Where are the practices?
That's the other downside. Hey, Greg, welcome, man. The practices, that's the other downside to All In. The practices, the closest one that we'll be able to go to is on the north side on 2700 North Levitt. If they want us to be with the elite group, they might try to get us out to Deerfield at the Berto Center. And Omari and I, we were making that trek, hour and a half there, hour and a half back, twice a week for a number of weeks before we switched over. But I'm just giving you the world of it for your consideration, nothing to do with what I'm sharing with you now. But this was kind of my first thought about where I would attempt to promote that the boys go to. But I spoke to the director. I mean, this is just, again, a point of consideration. I spoke to the director. He just so happened to call me back. I called him like early last week. He didn't call me back. He called me back right before this call. And he says, look, don't worry about the price point. Don't even worry about the location. If you have boys that want to play together, we'll arrange for practices with LaSalle to make it more accessible for people. And don't even worry about the price point. We'll work through the price point. You know, we've never had anybody not play with us because it was too pricey. So again, just something to consider, and I'll give you more details in a minute about All In. So you heard what I had to say about All In. The next one that I thought about was Chicago Swarm. I'll just be upfront and say Chicago Swarm right now is my favorite because they're very much so organized like All In, similar kind of construct, similar type of system, and they practice at that really nice Wintrust Arena over in Bedford Park by Midway, with the arcade in it and the restaurant upstairs. That's kind of their home facility. The price point is a lot less than All In. It's $750 for the jersey, 5 tournaments, 2 practices per week. Will and Omari happen to train with their director of player development, and he's phenomenal. Actually, Will introduced us to him, and we worked out with him for the first time a couple of weeks ago. And Omari has worked out with a lot of trainers, as I'm imagining, you know, your sons have as well. He's worked out with a lot, including a couple of professionals. He walked out of that training and he was like, I think that might be the best trainer that I've ever worked with. So,
What, Omari, what's his name? Is he?
Eric, don't ask me to screw up his last name.
Okay.
ERICK. I can send
I
it
just
to
didn't know if he was someone that I was familiar with or not.
Yeah, Eric, you would know just by me saying he has a long, interesting last name, you would know who he is if you knew him. But great. I mean, so that's that's kind of my cue with who to go with. I mean, and Omar is kind of a snob about things like that, so that he would say that might be the best one I've ever worked with says a lot. And he happens to be connected with Chicago Swarm. And, you know, Eric, I could let you speak to, you know, the world of what impressed you, because Eric actually found the guy, and inside of some conversations he and I were having about keeping the boys together. And don't let me screw up what you were saying, Eric, but it was basically this is the one guy.
So what I was going to say in regards to the Chicago Swarm, why I thought it was a good idea is because they will allow us, they will give us a coach. They have a practice facility that's not that far. It's definitely not farther than the north side. The guy that we're training with, who is affiliated with the Chicago Swarm, he works out in Beverly, which is also, to me, a little bit closer. So convenience is there. They're very organized. They're flexible in adjusting to whatever it is that we want to do, depending on how many kids we can get, and whatever the commitment is. And it's very reasonable. I mean, if you look at some of the prices for some of these teams, I think the price point is very, very reasonable. So for that reason, for those reasons, I like the Chicago Swarm as well. And Amari, I was about to say, you can also put team roles on there if you like.
Sure.
That's where Will played the past couple of years. I will be honest and say they're not as organized, but they are sponsored by Adidas. And, as they get older, that may mean more. So that's another team we can add to the list.
Good. Okay, it's added. And just so you all know, this presentation I'm making is a Google Slides presentation. So I'll send you all out the link, because there's some links in here that you'll be interested in. And so you'll have access to this so that you can click the links and get any more information about any one of these teams that we're talking about. Betsy, did you have something?
Yeah, I just have a question, because I'm new to, I've never been involved with the AAU piece. And the other night we were at that tryout, and it's a tryout, and I don't know that went great for Henry. So I don't know that, is it just a given that our kids will be part of, like, I don't get how this all works. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, he
Well,
would be a
yeah,
part
go
of
ahead.
our group for
No, no, go
sure.
ahead.
That's what I was wondering if I just don't get how it all works. So I just don't want to take for granted that just because you choose a team means you are part of that team.
Yeah. Yeah. No, let me just answer your question for everybody, because that may be of concern too when we get to the tryouts portion for some folks. Yeah, it is with a lot of these teams, maybe with the exception of Team Rose and Mean Streets, you're almost guaranteed a slot because we got to think about this in two sort of veins. I mean, one is the team that we're putting together on our own, but the other is if you do decide, because I recognize that some of you may say, well, I don't necessarily need to be with the Lindblom team. I want to go off and let my son go do his own thing someplace else, which is fine. So to answer your question, Betsy, and for everybody else that may be new to this, yeah, so for some of the more competitive teams, like a Mean Streets or like a Team Rose, you may not make it. Most of the rest of them, they'll find a place where your son can get the most kind of exposure. Because I'm not a big fan of putting people on teams or putting kids on teams just so they could say they're on the team. You want your son to play. You want him to get some reps in. And there are levels of tournaments that are that cater to any level of skill or development. And I think All In, Swarm, yeah, I think Henry would be fine in Swarm. I mean, you'll choose whether or not he wants to be with our team or not, right? But All In, Swarm, and Yolanda, you could probably speak to this better than I can. I do have a familiarity with Dynasty, but I think Dynasty does well at catering to the kids who are just at various levels, right?
Yep, and I had the opportunity to speak with Coach Brent too, and he said, whatever our decision, if we did decide to go with him with Team Dynasty, he would find a spot for everyone.
Yeah.
So he has 3 teams.
Okay.
He has a varsity. He has 16U and 13U, I believe. I was hoping my husband had joined in. I sent him the link because he probably can add in even more information. And we do have the schedule, and I was just I should have sent that to you, but I know it's not totally etched in stone, but they do have games starting in March all the way through the end of August, and it's 2 away games, and it's almost every week through the summer, from March through the summer.
Yeah.
So Romeoville for local is one of the venues. Where else? I think they may have a couple games at the Pullman Center. Okay, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, you can send it in the chat, and I can or email it to me, and I can send it out to everybody as well. Yeah, so good. And I do have actually a slide dedicated directly to Dynasty, and I'll show that in just a minute, right? Okay. But point is, what's that, Yolanda?
Finalized. No, I was just saying it's not finalized yet, but I will.
Yeah, send it out just for people's information.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so with that, so these are the teams that we were considering, and why we like one or the other. Mean Streets is Mean Streets. Most of you, I'm sure, have heard of Mean Streets. They have a tryout coming next week. I'm putting all of these up here because, again, with whatever we decide and whoever decides what, I actually would put out to the group that it would actually be fun for the boys to just go to as many tryouts as they possibly can and just play together and just have some fun with it. Again, they're going to be playing anyway, so they may as well, just go hang out and meet some of the other people who are going to be competing over the spring and summer. Old Gold, I could not put him up because that's a fraternity brother of mine. And I probably should have prefaced what I said with that because I love Old Gold, I really do. It's not my favorite for a whole host of different reasons, but they are there, they are available, and and as soon as I texted him earlier to find out if he had a tryout date scheduled, and he didn't yet, he'd let me know, and I'll keep you posted once that comes up. And then you heard Eric just mention Team Rose. Okay, so these are the teams that I'm putting out there. If you know of any more that we should be considering as a group, send them to me, or feel free to just kind of speak up now if you want. But if nothing else, send it to me, and I'll send it out to the group for consideration. And like I said, we can continue to evaluate as we go. So with that said, here are the all-in tryout dates. One of the other things I love about All In is that it's not a tryout like in the traditional sense that you would think of tryouts, because they understand that kids have bad days and maybe even bad series of days. So they put a whole group. They basically do tryouts for a whole month, and they invite you to come to as many as you want, as much as you can. And there's, again, I can't say enough about them. I mean, they're so sophisticated because they have technology. If you can imagine, while the kids are trying out, they have 4 coaches standing on either edge of the court with tablets, recording their notes about the kids. And so by the time the tryouts are over, hundreds and hundreds of kids have literally tried out, and they have a team for everybody. And they know very intimately what every kid is capable of, what they can do, what their skill set is. And they do an extraordinary job of putting these teams together in a way that they can be most competitive and have the most fun. So here's a list of the 9th and 10th grade all-in tryout dates. And there's the link at the top. Like I said, I will send everybody out this Google Slides presentation, so you can click on the link and check them out for yourself. And whatever dates work for you, feel free to participate in those. Here's Chicago Swarm. Again, these are my favorites. March 14th and 16th is the next tryout. This kind of doesn't apply to us really, because again, they've already spoken with Eric and me, and they've said, hey, look, whatever, similar to what Yolanda was saying, hey, look, whatever you want to do. They introduced us to who our potential coach would be. Great guy, former pro, former college player, just a great guy, great space, really encouraging, really positive guy. And then one of the trainers would be the guy that Will and Omari Jr. train with as well. Like Eric said, the fee is reasonable. And I actually like the fact that there's only 5 tournaments scheduled, because it gives us a lot of flexibility. And one of the things that I have in mind that I'd like to do with the boys is actually get some camps scheduled in there. So camps, if you're not familiar, are really good for college recruitment. So they're camps, they may last a day, they may last a weekend, but college coaches are there, and they're just a really great opportunity to work on specific sets of skills that you're just not going to get in the course of everyday practice or even a game. So Chicago Swarm gives us a great amount of flexibility, and I'll show you the slide later for the camps that I'm thinking about as well. So that's Swarm. Thank you, Yolanda, for this. I think this is just important for everybody to consider for whatever their purposes may be. So I just took this right off.
So it did come through. Okay.
Oh yeah. We got it on your text. So I just took this out
Okay.
and put it on the slide for everybody's information as they, look and move forward. Fun fact, Yolanda, I actually work for Target Area.
Oh, okay.
Who's very closely connected with Back to the Basics. So Brent is my good friend, and and Dr. MJ and the whole crew, so
Okay. Oh
yeah,
wow.
so
It's a small world.
it's a very, very small world. So that's how I knew Ethan played for Dynasty, by the way. So I keep track of where folk are going and what they're doing and what. So anyway, so I have no question, Ethan's going to continue to do well with Dynasty, and whoever else, winds up there. So, but just want everybody to get this. They practice over in Auburn Gresham, and just great group, really great group. I can't say enough about them. So that's Team Dynasty. Did you know if your husband at all joined, Yolanda?
I think he did join, Kevin.
Okay.
I thought I saw.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Kevin, anything you want to say about Dynasty? Share, create, anything that we haven't said?
I think you pretty much have touched upon all the points that I can expound on. Like you said, it is a great group. I kind of help with the kids a lot. I have primarily been responsible for Ethan's development with his basketball. So if you look at him, you're looking at me pretty much.
You've done well, sir. You've done well.
I try, but it's a task, I must say.
That's true.
But it's a great group, and the kids listen, and it's just it's an awesome responsibility, but it's a great group of kids to work with.
No, definitely. Yeah, Omar's worked out a couple of times with Dynasty too. He thought well of the experience. So really cool.
Great.
Really cool. So good. So Mean Streets is out there. I don't believe that Mean Streets would let us create a team of our own. They might. I don't know. I don't have any deep connection. I know a couple of the coaches at Mean Streets, but it's not so deep.
Invited. I don't
What's
think
that?
they'll let you. Just
You know,
from my experience,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, Yolanda. And I tell you, and I put it out there for the group because one, like I said, I think it would be fun if the boys went and ran a few of those Main Street guys off the court in their tryout next week. And I thought to put it up too because I thought some of y'all might know some people, because I know that teams like Mean Streets and Mac Irvin and other kind of bigger name teams like that, I know they do it for certain groups. And truth is, because Amari played with Mac Irvin for years, and that's kind of how he got in that group. But if anybody knows anything, let me know. But if not, not a problem. But here's the information about the tryout next week. So
I think Coach Vic is the 15U coach.
is he? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's a good piece of information, right? So this is, I haven't let any of the coaches know that we were doing this just yet. I kind of wanted to see what kind of participation we would get. But that's a good piece. I'll reach out to Coach Vic and see what his thoughts are about that. Okay.
Omar, you're saying next week, and I see March 12th. Is there another date that's different?
I'm sorry, it's late, Betsy. It's March 12th, next month.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if there's.
Thank you.
I
for
think
reaching out. No,
Dynasties
that's
is
great.
next week. I think
Okay.
Dynasties tryout is next week.
No, it's next month, March 12th.
Okay.
Yeah, I apologize. So,
No problem.
there you go. So that's next month, March the 12th. That gives us plenty of time to kind of work through that with Coach Vic. So that's Mean Streets. Like I said, whatever we go with, I appreciate a certain amount of flexibility, because one of the things I want for Omari and the rest of the boys, and I saw is missing from his AAU experience last year, was that we didn't work in enough camps. And just, again, camps are a great way to get exposure to college coaches, programs. They're the only environments that coaches can talk to most of our kids now, because with D1 and D2, coaches aren't allowed to interact with the players before June of their sophomore years. D3 doesn't have any restrictions, but as long as they're going to a camp, they have the opportunity to be seen and noticed, recognized, and coached and tutelage. I mean, it's just some of Omari's best lessons and biggest sort of developmental points have come from attending good camps. So this is just a screenshot of a good list that I got last year from the All-In group. It has about 200 or so, 150, 200 or so camps that are happening between next month and through the end of the summer season. So you see the links there, you see the approximate cost there. So I just encourage you to take this, click the link at the bottom of the page, and just kind of click around and see what camps you'd be interested in, whether it was involved with what we were doing or not. So, but for me, I actually like the Swarm 2 tournaments a month, and maybe we could sneak in another camp once a month as well, and that would be a schedule I think that would be manageable for most of us. So those are the recruitment camps. And so, here's again my motivation. Really, I think the biggest challenge that the boys had this season was just chemistry. I mean, even the coaches don't make any bones about the fact that this is the most talented JV team that Lindblom has seen in a lot of years. And I think if they had the opportunity to get some more reps in together, they'd be a scary group to watch in the coming months and years. Number one. Number two, I paid all this money, and some of you helped me pay all this money on this camera. And I want to keep using it. So I want to keep using it. I don't want to use it on some random set of kids who who haven't put in on it. So that's part of my motivation. There, many of you all have seen that and experienced that. Each of the boys will get their own login, do their own highlights. Again, if any, I'd imagine all of the boys have stars in their eyes for wanting to play at the next level. So they get a chance to record their own highlights, put their own highlight reels together, send them out to coaches, or just keep it for, to show the kids and grandkids down the line, whatever they use it for. It's a valuable tool. Another thing that I started to do, and I showed some of you, and I'm going back through all the games and I'm recording all of the stats so that the boys can really see what there is to work on as well. And that's another thing I'd like to keep going, where there would be heat maps, field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, turnovers, where they'd be able to see all of their statistics NBA style and really get a sense for the the brass tacks of what it is that would cause the game to go to the next level. So that's something I'd like to keep going. And that's that. So with that, I'm just going to hand it over to you. Any thoughts, questions, ideas, yeah, buts, how abouts, what ifs, anything at all that, that we may have missed that would be.
I just want to make sure. So all of the different organizations, that was just their spring schedule, correct?
Correct. I mean, well, the tryouts, that's just for the spring. That's right. So
No,
that's
for Dynasty, it's combined spring
spring
and
and summer.
summer. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got
So
it.
the price that you have, it takes them from March all the way through
through
August.
August. Good.
Okay. And then another question, how does it work with 15U versus 16U?
Good question. So I thought about that too, because we only have in our JV team only 3 sophomores, and the rest are all freshmen. So my thought is that the freshmen are good enough to play up, but it's a good question. This is something that we'd have to work through. But I would be completely unopposed to the freshmen having their own team and the sophomores kind of forming a team. And every coach that we've talked to said we have no problem with building around a core. So for example, well, here's the thing. Omari played up last year. So he was a freshman. He played up 16U and 17U. But it really depends on you all's schedule. But that's something, Greg, that we just have to work through, and think through. But
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
but my thought is that, yeah, a lot of the freshmen would play up, and then they can. I believe they can.
Yeah, I was about to say, Omari, it sounded like when we talked to the Swarm, they were flexible, in regards to that. So
Yeah, they were, and I think given the talent that we have on the team, I think any team would be flexible with that. Yeah, the only thing is just the rule. Obviously, the sophomores couldn't play down, but the freshmen would have to play up. Yeah, but good point.
Can you just help me understand, how does that work then? So Swarm, we went to, so they basically will assign a coach if you have a team that wants to stay together and they're competing as a Swarm team, but essentially we would keep our core kids together and.
Right. Go ahead, Greg. Were you gonna put something in on that? Yeah, but it's so there's 15U, 16U, and 17U. 15U is the freshmen, or the freshmen. 16U would mostly be sophomores, and 17U are the seniors.
Right.
So the freshmen would play up on 16U tournaments, and depending on how things went, because there's enough freshmen, if we can get enough participation, there are enough freshmen where the freshmen could have their own 15U team and do quite well, I think. But it just depends on you all schedule and what you'd like to to get done.
Okay.
So, hi everyone, this is Marquis. Sorry I was so late to the call. I had another call. So Omari, I'm kind of with Bessie. I was a little bit confused with Swarm as well. And I'm new to AAUs in general. And so Yolanda, had given me some information with Dynasty. I love the idea of the boys staying together.
Yeah.
But so are you kind of like a coach as well with these teams or AAUs?
No, I have no affiliation. I don't get any benefit from this outside of, just seeing the boys come together.
All right, okay. Do you know what Swarm's objective is, to get them playing together? And then I know they probably won't have time to continue to help develop the boys, but is their primary objective to get them in tournaments so that they can play against maybe the best of the best in the tournaments?
Yeah, well, so you had a couple questions in there. So Swarm's objective is our objective, to keep the boys together, and they've been fairly open to that. And they're even somewhat open and willing to help us to assess what level of competitiveness the boys might want to play at, and which I thought was a pretty cool feature as well, because there are, so in the world of AAU, and Omari had to educate me about this too a couple of nights ago. So I asked him, because Swarm has an Under Armour sponsorship,
Yeah.
And so I was asking him about the EYBL versus NY2LA versus Adidas Gauntlet. So these are the various circuits that the AAU plays on. And there are a number of them, and some more notable than others, but the more popular ones are the more competitive ones. And so what he shared with me was that of the three big ones, EYBL, Adidas Gauntlet, and Under Armour. Under Armour is probably the least competitive of the more competitive circuits, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So they're competitive, they're super competitive, but not as much as you would find with the higher two. And so that, I think that's generally the bent that you'd find with the Swarm. That's where you're going to find yourself by default. But one of the things I love that the director shared with Eric and I that night that we were all together, that Mark was there. I don't think
Yes.
you were there. I don't think you were there. But that they were all together was that she's flexible. Like if there's another circuit that we want to be on, if there's another set a tournament that we want to participate in, she'll handle all the administrative stuff for us, such that we could be in that one if it really calls to us. So there's a lot of flexibility with Swarm, but again, I don't know if you were on when I said this, Marquise, but it's as much as I would love for the boys to stay together, you all have to kind of make the determination for yourselves as like what's going to be the fit for your child. And where they're going to get the most playing time and make the biggest difference and have the most fun, like that.
Right. I mean, I agree. I love the ideal of them staying together, especially because they're developing and growing, and given the fact that they want to be where these teams were Saturday, one day playing for city championship. I love that idea. But then my next question, because, obviously there's some freshman moms on here, and then we have you guys that are leaving, that's going to be going on to varsity. So how, like, are you all going to we're going to stay a family with JV and varsity next year? Or you guys are going to just, you guys are going to kind of hang with varsity next year? Or
who
like,
you asking? Who you
like
asking?
yeah, I know you and and they're going up. They're going up now. So during the summer, will Makai and like the ones that are going to be juniors next year, will they still be playing with our babies that's going to be the sophomores? Or how's that going to work?
Greg, do you have something? I'll let you chime in and I'll go after you.
No, I was going to say, I'm really trying to figure that thing out. At what point do they switch over? I think part of it will depend upon the coaches and when they want to try and pull and form the varsity for next year.
Yeah, well, Makai and Omari, Greg, are going to have a choice. They're off to varsity next year,
right?
So they're not going to play. But I mean, just two points from me, Marquise. I mean, from what I know about the sophomore boys, I mean, they're supportive and they're all genuinely good friends. So I know that.
But I mean, for the summer, once we decide, I don't know if there's a deadline that we, have to that we'll come back on the Zoom and say, hey, Omari, I think this is a good fit, or let you know which one we choose. Do we have a future date for that, so that we'll know, hey, we're all going this way or we're all going that way?
No, there's not a future call set yet. And we can certainly schedule like some kind of a deadline for ourselves. But I'd imagine there's going to be some conversations offline about it. But to your prior point, Marquise, I mean, my thing is that the freshmen are tough. I mean, look, we only have 3 sophomores, and they're good too. But the freshmen are tough, especially with these guys that are coming over from the AC. I'm a little scared to see what's going to happen with the JV team next year. So and I know all the boys are gonna be around. I mean, very much so, like you see the varsity team watching JV now. They're going to be around to support and root those guys on. And I'm of course thinking about this for Omari, but I'm thinking about it for the whole team.
Right.
More time, more they get to play together. I think, like you said, Marquise, they're developing. They're going to be something to watch next year.
That's true. I believe that.
Yeah.
And also, I think that if they do play 16U, they can stay together a little bit longer. They can definitely be together in the spring. And if they play 16U, they can probably stay together during the summer. And I wanted to also comment, you asked about their development. Well, Omari and I have Will and Omari working out with this guy Eric, and he's really good with the training and conditioning, almost at a different level. And he's also affiliated with Swarm, and he's one of the coaches. So
Okay.
I would say there's definitely player development attached to the Swarm piece, and it's it's at a high level. Will, he's trained with a lot of people too, but this guy really focuses on the conditioning, which is what they need, and it challenges and pushes them. So
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, conditioning, speed, plyometrics, the vertical jump. He even does nutrition and meal planning along with all the skill stuff. So you're just so Eric, you know, when people tell you stuff, you know, Eric was telling me like, man, this guy's really good. And I'm like, yeah, okay, we'll see. That's what I was saying back in my mind. I know I didn't come across that like that, Eric. You know, but I was thoroughly impressed by the guy. So I'm yeah. So I am trying to schedule. He has offered, and the Swarm team has offered to actually have another call to your question, Marquise, with all of the parents to answer any questions that we might have as well. So I texted him earlier. I heard back yet, but he and the directors of the teams of the Swarm team have offered to have a call with us to answer all our questions, lay out probably a lot more clearly than I answered, Marquise, what their thoughts, intentions, plans, philosophies are. So I'll gather a couple of days for that and then float them to the group to see, you know, who'd be willing to be a part of that.
Okay, you may have answered this already, but do you know why they're having another tryout in March for Swarm?
I think because it was so close to the end of the high school season.
Oh, okay.
And they recognize that some kids are still in state.
Gotcha. Okay.
And yeah, so I think that's that. AAU doesn't officially start until the end of March. So
Gotcha.
yeah. So that's that. That's how that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're absolutely welcome. So good. So any other thoughts? I'm going to put the link to the presentation that I just gave in the chat. So just feel free to take a look at that, sort through the links. Let me know if you have any questions regarding any of that stuff. But anything else? I'll again work on scheduling another date for us all to come together, and I'll give reminders about these other tryouts that are coming up as they come out. And I would, you know, and yeah, so like that. And I'll talk with a number of you offline just to gather your thoughts. Feel free to call me if at any point you have thoughts or questions at all that I can be helpful with. So good. So anything else? Anything else?
Thank you again.
Thank you so much for getting the camera and organizing this information.
Omari, you
It's
can
been
look
really
look in your
helpful.
chat. Yeah.
My absolute
Thank
pleasure.
you.
My absolute
Yeah.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Good to see you guys. I miss you all already.
Yeah, I know. Like that's the real reason why we're having this call, you know, just because of separation anxiety.
Have a good night, everybody.
You
Right.
too. Good to see you guys. Thank you.
take care.
Okay, you're welcome. Bye, guys.
Thanks so much, Omari and
My
Eric.
pleasure, Kelly. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, thanks.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Hang